I guess for the third time running, I'm going to have the wrong title on the tweet and the YouTube live stream where it says something about Mr.
Open
Beast.
AI and Mr. Beast, and then
Yeah,
Simon talks basketball and you talk about log splitters. And
totally. I forget every time to change that one, but that's fine. We're here now. Once
here.
again, for the pre-listening folks, I have decided to just change everything about my setup immediately before going live. So we'll see what
Yes,
works
you do.
and what absolutely doesn't work.
Seems to work fine so far. You're looking great and
Aw,
healthy
thanks, man.
and happy.
You're looking great too, Simon.
Thank you.
You're radiating.
I'm
Radiating?
trying to.
Radiant?
I'm a radiator. That's what I try to do.
All right, and welcome to our first episode of the podcast where it sounds like we have never spoken to each other and are super nervous on camera.
Well, we haven't met in person yet, so it's a
true, we
bit
haven't
like
met.
this. It's a bit
There
like
was that time when you were as close as you've ever been. Actually, no. All right, to be fair, we have, I think, met in life.
ReactConf?
I think at ReactConf.
We just didn't know that we met.
Exactly. We didn't know each other, but I feel like maybe I asked you where the toilet was.
No, actually, to be honest, I can't validate that this is true, but I have this memory that I was handing off the badges, accreditation badge, the first day, and I remember someone looking just like you with a big smile and super friendly, and I handed up the badge, and I was like, "That guy's so nice." And
I feel a connection with this guy. Something about this guy. He's going to be
Something's
important to
about
my
to
life. I like it.
Yeah.
Simon, you are a nice tinge of beautiful skin color there. And oh, does this work?
What?
I'm trying to change my.
Yeah, you can see the tungsten change.
So we've got white, we've got daylight. This is what I usually go with. But you look like a very nice warm color.
And this is me. You can't recreate this.
Yeah,
video.
that's true. Maybe I need to actually get out in the sunlight if I want to get out and surf a little bit if I want to.
This is the natural sunlight basking me on the face there.
That's beautiful.
It's an overcast day, so it just works. Overcast day is the best softbox light you'll ever get.
Yeah, it's
Except
fantastic.
it keeps changing.
Until the sun goes down,
Yeah.
or until it starts getting dark, and or the sun comes out from behind the clouds. Totally.
But you know what? I've passed the point where I care about perfect lighting, so you get the natural. I'm willing to bet it's like the viral videos that it's always like the low quality ones that go crazy viral because people are like, oh, this is so relatable and real. It looks like it wasn't forced. So I'm going for this. I'm going for the unforced, low effort, high naturality.
Right.
Vibe.
Simon saying, I woke up like this. This is just me rolling out of bed.
Well,
looking this good.
It's not far from the truth. Roll down the stairs.
And welcome to another week of the Navbar. Simon, how are you? What have you been up to?
I am doing great. I have launched a thing this week.
Ooh, what sort of thing?
Technically, I have completed that thing months ago, but I have launched it only last week. So you may know that I'm doing some collaboration with Ken C. Dodds on the Epic Web platform. And I have a paid course there called Pixel Perfect Figma to Tailwind CSS, where we convert a Figma design to a Tailwind comp, as the title kind of hints. And when we launched this, like 2 months ago, I was like, oh, I should do some little videos to kind of, during launch week, promote what's happening and just get people to discover it and buy during launch week at a discount. And one of these ideas was like, oh, I should do a video on design tokens, color tokens in Tailwind. You know how the default colors are beautiful and most people never change them.
Yeah.
I'm part of this clan, by the way. I don't really change them. But I was like, when you work with designers, they tend to really like to have things like subtle, primary, muted colors that have a semantic meaning. And I was like, what does it look like to have a Figma file with semantic tokens that the design team has prepared, and you have to codify this to your Tailwind config? And there's some colors that only apply to borders, some only apply to backgrounds or text colors. So I was like, I'm going to make a video that kind of shows the process. And then I was like, okay, the video is 20 minutes. Maybe I can do a 6-step video course. And then I was like, hang on, if I turn these 6 steps to problem solution, it becomes a whole workshop. And it's basically on paper almost the same product as my paid product, but it's a completely free one. And the idea is that it kind of serves as a little flywheel where people consume this for free and they're like, damn, this is actually pretty good quality. And oh, he's got a paid course, I might check it out. Or guilt people into like, I've given them so much that now they're like, you gotta better give me your money for the other thing.
I love it that you describe it as guilt rather than like giving them value, so they want to give you value in the form of money.
Yes.
Yeah, it's not you guilting them into it. It's you creating such high quality content that people want to give back. And also, I didn't even realize that you could do this. I didn't know that you could. So you can override certain colors on things like borders and different pieces without just creating all of those Tailwind classes for every single colored anything.
Yes. So the theme has all these things called core plugins, and one is called colors. And colors is like it's gonna generate colors for background, borders, caret, cursor, like all the possible things that need a color. But then you can narrow down to background color only, or text color, or border color. And so what we do in this course is we look at all the special design tokens the designer has set, and then we say, okay, these 3 colors only are available for background surfaces. So we override the background color core plugin, and so it lets you do stuff that kind of prevents developers from using the wrong colors in a way they're not intended. So it lets you become the design team's best friend because you kind of enforce the whole semantic research they've been doing. And then you're like, well, the framework available only lets you do this and nothing else. You will never find the highlight color, which is a background color. You'll never be able to apply it to a text color because it's not applied to the text color core plugin.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think I've only ever like just extended colors and accidentally overwritten colors and then been like, why can't I do my usual BG red 500? Where are my debugging colors gone? That's very cool.
Yeah.
Tailwind is always so much more configurable than I think it is. It's incredible.
I'm just, before we move on, gonna say one more thing on that thing. It's called Tailwind CSS color tokens, but there is one step, and it's completely free. So I'm not like, you should check it out. It's good value for the zero money. But there's one challenge at the end where we move the whole thing from Tailwind 3 to Tailwind 4. So if you're curious about what's coming up to Tailwind 4 and how to upgrade a project, you can just forget the color tokens, whatever. You just go to that challenge that kind of moves a config file and a theme from V3 to V4, and you're going to learn a ton of things. It's kind of like a series of blog posts with some code snippet and some challenges to go from A to B. And I think if you're curious about what's coming to Tailwind 4, that's a pretty nice place to check it out.
Awesome. I'm very excited. So
link in the show notes.
Link will be in the show notes, obviously. But where else can people find it?
All right. So if you go to epicweb.dev, which is the whole platform, you will see lots of courses by Ken C. Dodds and a few other instructors. But if you go in the free tutorials on the top navbar, there's pro workshops and then free tutorials. If you go there, you will see it's, I think, the last one published. So it's the one at the top. It's got a really cool illustration that has a Figma and Tailwind CSS logos in like the typical eggheads. You've seen these illustrations. They're always mind-blowing every time you release something. So Epic Web, whatever. You go there, you'll find it. Am I good at promoting my own stuff?
Yeah. You're great. Yeah, check those show notes for sure. Those, there'll definitely be a link there.
Yes.
This week has been my 3-year official anniversary at Superbase. So I have 2 anniversaries, and this is all right. I'll explain why. I have one, my main anniversary, the one that was 3 years, or work anniversary, I guess. 3 years this last week was me starting full time, and so this is when I finally got offered the position and started working there full time. The reason that I hold on to another starting date is because that's when I started contracting for Superbase, which is a very important date to be my start date because it happens to be like just before the other person, Thor, who kind of like kicked off DevRel with me. It's just before he started. So if
So
we go
you
off
were
the
the
full-time,
OG.
yeah, that's right. If we go off the full-time dates, then technically he was the first DevRel, and we can't have that. So we go off the contracting date when I started doing any paid work for Superbase, which happens to predate him, which means I was the original DevRel at Superbase and started the whole thing, which is a very important bragging point for sure.
Oh, it is. It is.
But yeah, I put out a tweet this week about interesting stuff that I have liked about Superbase so far, and one interesting point for each year. So you should go and check that out. But I also mentioned a story which I think I've mentioned on this podcast before, that I actually failed the interview with Superbase, and so in the initial interview, I think the founders of Superbase were looking for someone to like kick off this whole department and start kind of create what the DevRel department was, and how, basically take that whole like arm of the business and just run with it. And at that point, I had been contracting 2 days a week with Prisma for like 3 months or something. And so I wasn't like, I felt very much like I was just learning how to do the thing, how to do DevRel. And was in an awesome team. The team at Prisma was incredible. Mahmoud and everyone that was there was just killing it. It was a super awesome team to learn from. They taught me so much about lighting and camera angles, and just, I got so much feedback about things in the short amount of time I was there. They were awesome. Also, they didn't give me the job because they were also awesome. They were very upfront and clear about the fact that there were only particular time zones that would work with the culture of their company and how they wanted to be able to work. They didn't want it to be this like massively async, anyone, anywhere company. And it was important to them to have people in overlapping time zones so that they could work together effectively. And at the time I was like, this is just an annoying excuse. Just give me the job, it'll be fine. But even working there for like 3 months, I was like, man, this actually sucks not having anyone online at the same time. And everyone else knows each other in person, or like lives close to each other, or is just online at the same time. And there's definitely this like, this camaraderie, this like closeness with the rest of the team that I'm just feeling it is really hard to like, to get in there. And so they were totally right. It was not the right company for me. But they gave me the opportunity to contract there for a few months and just learn as much as I could. And it was kind of like, the point of it was, well, if you want to learn this stuff, like just come and work for us as long as you want to work for us. Learn as much as you can while you're trying to get another job somewhere else. And then once you land another job, then we just call it there, which is incredible.
Very nice. Yeah, it's a great setup for both sides, I guess.
It also gave me this awesome bargaining chip to get a job at Superbase and be like, what are you talking about? I've already got a job. I already work at Prisma. What are you going to give me? And so it was nice having the confidence of that to like negotiate my way into Superbase and not feel, like I was like, begging them for a job. I was like, I'm valuable. Other companies already think I'm valuable. This is how much money they're paying me, which is also good. But I've gone off on a tangent. I don't remember what my point was. I actually failed the interview with Superbase because I probably didn't come across as super confident after only having worked in like a very beginner contracting role at Prisma, and they were looking for someone to lead the entire department. And so I failed the interview. But rather than just being like, oh, that sucks, I'll just like move on and do something else, I continued to push and was like, no, I really want to work at Superbase. This company is building cool stuff. I really liked the fact that I could build so many different types of things. Like I was thinking about myself as like in a DevRel position over a long period of time. At this point, 3 years for the same company, which is also the longest time I've ever been at any company in my entire career. So that's saying something. But I was looking at it long term and thinking, if I'm working for, like, most likely I'm going to be working for a dev tools company, especially at the time that I was looking to get into DevRel. They were the ones that were putting a lot of money into DevRel departments. And so if I'm working on a dev tool, if it only does one thing, so for example, Prisma, like it is the ORM layer that talks to a database. there's only, well, like you can, there are unlimited examples you can put together with that, but they're all kind of in a similar vein. They are how you talk to a database from JavaScript or from somewhere else. Whereas when I was kind of assessing whether Supabase would be interesting long term, they had like file storage, they had database hosting, they have an ORM layer, they have real time, they have edge functions. There are so many different pieces of it that you can use to build interesting apps. I was like, I probably won't get bored of building things with Supabase as quickly as I would get bored with a tool that just does one thing. And turns out that has been right
Pretty
and
true.
consistent. I still enjoy the stuff. Every launch week, I'm like, oh my god, there's all this new stuff that I can build things with. This is sick. And so it has stayed exciting. But yes, rather than taking that no as a solid no, I was like, all right, the reason they don't want to employ me is because it would be too risky for them to employ me because I don't have the necessary experience that they want. They only have one open position, so if they're not going to give me that position, what can I do to do some work there? So I offered to do some contracting there 2 days a week because I was already contracting for Prisma, and so 2 days at Prisma, 2 days at Supabase would kind of make up like a full-time role. I was only looking to do 4 days a week. I'm still only doing 4 days a week. And so that was kind of what I was, the kind of structure I was looking for. And so, yeah, I think that really helped lower the bar of like commitment from Supabase's side because they only needed to pay for 2 days a week. I was also a contractor, which meant they didn't need to
They
like
can
create
stop
an
at any
official
time.
role. And they could kind of just see how it goes. And I also offered the unique perspective that or the unique value that I could help them work out exactly what they were looking for. Because I could tell from the interview that they were kind of like, you tell us what we need. Like, we don't know. We're looking for someone to run this whole arm. We don't really know. We know that it's important. We know that this is what we need to do to kind of beef up the marketing and get the message out to developers how to use this tool. But we don't really know exactly what that is. So I offered to work 2 days a week and kind of flesh out what that position was and try and work out where are the gaps, where am I like providing value, and where are my gaps that someone else could fill. And we decided to give it a go for 3 months and just see how it worked. And then at the end of the 3 months, they offered me the full-time position. So they ended up creating a new role because the other role kind of got filled by Thor, I guess. So we both kind of had different strengths in different areas and were able to kind of form what DevRel was for Supabase. So yeah, it's awesome. And I haven't really thought about it in a long time. It was nice having this prompt of me reaching that 3-year mark and trying to think back. What would be an interesting tweet or something to put out about this, or just reflecting on it and being what has been important about this. It was super interesting to remember how that all started and how important it is to to keep pushing for the things that you want to do.
Yeah, man. Life lesson: do not take no for necessarily a definite no. It's like, okay, no for now, but maybe if I go do my thing and improve these things, maybe the no turns into a yes.
Totally. Yeah, the no for this specific version of this offer is a no. But what if we tweak it slightly? What else can I change about this to?
But it's really interesting because I personally discovered Supabase through your videos. And then I was like, oh, this is really interesting. And I watched Ant and other people doing videos on the walkthrough in early days. And I'm pretty sure that the company now would be like, oh, imagine if we didn't hire this person, John's been killing it for us. I'm pretty sure they're not regretting the 3 years of hiring you. And maybe they're like, oh, if we said no and he just went away and just did his thing at another company, that would have been a bummer.
Totally.
So win-win.
Yeah. And I think that's that's one of the big benefits you get by taking a risk on someone with less experience, is that in my case, when I started, I felt like I had been given this opportunity, and so I pushed really hard. I was trying to raise the bar and kind of yeah, prove that I could do the thing that I wasn't sure and they weren't sure that I could do.
Yeah.
And I think that because of that opportunity and then kind of the career that this has flourished into, I think I feel a lot of loyalty towards Superbase and want to stay there as long as I can, because that opportunity that I was given, I think, really changed the trajectory of my career and yeah, my focus, which is awesome.
Good on you, man. I draw a lot of parallels with that and my tenure at Tailwind Labs, because the one thing you mentioned is the time zone difference. And early discussion with Adam, the same was like, oh, how are we gonna do? Do we talk at 11 p.m. or 5 a.m. or we try to be async? And I was very much like, oh, this is gonna be fine. I'm pretty good at communication and async stuff. And to be honest, it worked really well for the first year and a bit, because we really designed this thing where we work on different things and we update every day. We were using Basecamp and we just like recap the day. But as the team grew, as in one more person, so it went from like 5 to 6.
The massive corporation that is Tailwind Inc. of 4 or 5 people.
It was literally just enough for the company culture to shift towards like, hey, let's pair more and things. I mean, Adam and Steve from day one, they're good buddies and they live in the same town. They were pairing pretty much all day. They're in Figma together on the call. And like, what I love when I did the rare few pairings, I loved it because it was so casual. We never used any camera because we know what we look like. So that was using Tuple, and you just like share screen and voice chat. So you can be in your pajamas, whatever. You know what? As soon as you're on Zoom, you like adjusting am I framed right? Like you just like there's a lot of concentration that goes away to just be on stage. So I love this pairing, and I was just like you. I was like, it sucks because I don't get to do this much. And on their end, I think it also sucked because quite often they had a quick idea and they were like, oh, damn, if Simon was up, we could quickly jam on this and do a video before, like 2 hours after this happened, there's a video out and it's super cool. And eventually, I think that's caused the friction that ended up to me being terminated from I got terminated from the team. But the other parallel I draw is I entered there. I knew a lot about making videos and stuff because I had done it for myself as a teacher, independent, but I never really did the DevRel thing for a company before. And if you look at the Tailwind Labs channel and you scroll to the bottom, my most experience came from Egghead. So do this super short, no camera, really 1.5 minute topic. If you look at the Tailwind Labs channel, it starts like this, and then it increasingly gets longer. And then I show myself on camera, but I'm completely stiff and nervous. And then as the month pass, I get in my groove, and then I feel like, just like you said, it changed the trajectory of your career. Like the Tailwind Labs did the same for me. And so I also kind of did get a no initially. I didn't apply for a job. Adam put a job opening back in 2020 during COVID. And it was like for a senior architect, lead engineer at the C-level, whatever. I was like, that ain't me. But the fact that they're hiring, and Adam had hinted that with the money from Tailwind UI, they're thinking of like hiring people to make an actual team. And I just DM'd Adam and I started talking and say, hey, it's not a secret that I like Tailwind, and I think we could do cool stuff. And initially it was like, time zone, and I'm not really looking for something. But
were you already creating content for?
Yes.
Did you create anything for Tailwind at that point?
I created the very first Tailwind CSS course on the planet on internet before Adam, before anyone, for Tailwind 0. whatever, just after it launched on Egghead. And if you want to date it, the first lesson is setting up post CSS with Gulp. Whoa. So we were using Gulp to process the CSS, run it through post CSS, and so that it's like from 27. I think Tailwind launched on Halloween Day in 2017, and my course came around Christmas, like a month, 2 months after. And yes, when I got hired by Tailwind Labs, Adam did this announcement tweet, and one of the tweets said, Simon has been teaching Tailwind since before even I did, and linked to that course. So I've got the claim.
I think that's
It's
another
really outdated now, but the course is still there, and yeah,
it's another similar parallel. Like I created the first like super base course, and
yeah,
I did that before I worked there, and like that, it's like that's a really good uh like indicator when you're going for a job to show that you can already do the thing. Like don't
yes,
do a bunch of free work and get taken advantage of, but showing like you need to uh like minimize the risk of the company giving you that role in some way, and that is one of the ways that you can do that is by uh, showing that you can create this
mm,
kind of content, and not just like you can create it, but this is exactly what it would look like it already exists. I can just give you more of it. Like I can keep
yeah.
creating content
If
like
you like
this,
it,
or we can like take that and tweak it in some way and turn it into what would be
yeah.
more valuable for the company. But yeah, showing that you can do the thing, showing what you'll actually do in the role is super important.
That's the key. We had an early Navbar episode, and I think you suggest like the talk was like how to break into DevRel, or like how to go get the job that you dream of, and you use the example of doing courses on Remix and Superbase on Egghead, because like I like Remix, I like Superbase. Instead of saying, "Hey, I think I'd be really good for you," just do that. They will find me and ask me, and when they reach out to you, you have all the leverage, like you said. You're like, oh, you mean you're interested in me? Let's
That's
talk.
right. Yeah,
Yeah,
I may have mentioned in that episode that like you look at the companies that I happened to kind of stitch together for this course that I did, and it was basically the companies that I was applying for a DevRel
yeah.
position at. So it was
This is your application. Yeah,
Yeah, Auth0, Prisma, Superbase, and Stripe, and Next.js. So they were like the five companies were Vercel, Auth0, Stripe, Superbase, and Prisma were the five companies that I was like really targeting and trying to get a position at initially.
yeah.
And so, what better way than to do a course that magically ties them all together? So it's not even create five different courses to try and get the attention of five different hiring people. It was like create one course,
One.
pulls them all together, and then go and start the interview process with all of those different companies, pointing at
That's
that
the way.
course, being like, check out what I can do. Yeah, that was a very effective way to get people's attention.
Yeah, you get the credibility, the knowledge. The even if you love a technology and some time passed and you like the APIs have changed, so just revamping your skill set to the modern version is like, yeah, it's great. I'll give you another example of this. I'm sure it happens to you too, but every week on Twitter I get a DM or two or three or 10 of saying, "Hey Simon, love your content. I have helped clients reach millions of views on X and Instagram and YouTube through my video editing. Hit me up if you want a demo." I'm like, I'm too polite to just ignore. So sometimes, hey, I'm not really looking, or I ignore sometimes. But one day, we talked about her a few times. Lyra from Clipwing, um, she's a girl who started like Clipwing is like an AI tool that kind of detects the cool parts of a long form video and then adds subtitles and like tries to help you creating short form content. But she's also a really skilled video editor who now has a team. And she did the same, except instead of saying, "Hey, I do cool videos," she was like, "Hey, Simon, I grabbed this video you made. I've popped it, I've like made it really cool. Here's the output. You feel free to post it anywhere you want. It's yours." And instead of like someone who claims they're really good and then you click on their account and you get no information, no demos, you're like, I don't know. Maybe you're very good, but I don't have time to find out. Where Lyra was like, "I'm not gonna tell you that I can do. I'm literally gonna take your video and do it." And she did it with Lemon Squeezy and with the My First Million podcast and a few high profile podcasts. And a lot of these were like, "Holy crap, this is exactly what we want. Are you available for hire?" And she's like, "Well, actually I am." And that's a great way to show how you can kind of like hack your way into people's interest and radar by actually say, "Hey, if you were to hire someone, you probably would want something that looks like this. So this is what I do. It's yours. Use it. And if you want more, you know where to find me."
Yeah, that's such a perfect way to do it, giving people the thing, and especially saying like feel free to post this. Like what that does is it's giving the people the value already. So you've given them a gift. It's like, here's a thing, I've already done the work. So like that in itself is showing your skills that you can offer to that company. But then saying, feel free to share it. Of course, the company's going to be like, oh yeah, sick, this video is awesome. We don't have the budget to hire someone right now or to contract you to do our video editing. But of course, we're going to post this on our socials. This is sick.
Yep.
And of course, they're going to mention her as like, this is the person that created this, because it would be, you know, pretty crappy of you to not. And then that is just like social validation and more marketing for her to get out to every company and every dev and every person who's following that account. Like, it's just this crazy viral strategy that is just amazing.
And she's got that skill set plus confidence combo that she's like, my work is good enough that when they share it, everyone's gonna be like, a lot of people are gonna say, oh my god, who did this to you? Can you put me in contact? And this is exactly what happens. If you go look her up on Twitter, This Will Blossom is her handle. Put in the show notes. She's her thing is a constant feed of either doing demos like this or replying to people that are like, oh, who did this video? Like, just this complete viral like rocket ship trajectory, just by doing the work instead of like showing the work instead of saying that you can do it, and do a nice resume and try to look impressive. Just impress by doing instead of talking about doing.
Totally. Yeah, it's actually a startup idea, or not a contracting idea that I've always had, a business idea that like early on when I was like learning web dev, I was always like, should I go and work for a company doing this, or should I do my own contracting thing? And then when my wife was getting into web development, I was thinking the same thing. Like, you should totally take this idea and run with it, which is like, find a bunch of like small businesses in the area, like cafes and anything that would just have like an Instagram account or a Facebook account or whatever, and not have a website, or not have a very good website.
Yep.
And kind of like create a couple of templates where you can, like, let's say you have 5 templates and you just populate the information from their restaurant or whatever. Like, let's say it's a cafe. You populate it with some information about their business and maybe like their menu, if you find a photo of their menu on their Facebook account or something like that. Put all of that into a website, and then give them the website and just be like, this is what I've already done. You can see literally what your website would be. Here's how much you can pay me to host it properly and maintain it ongoing. And then even better than that, like, make it like, in the world that we're living in now, make it a subscription and say, like, I will like keep this up to date, run security updates, and do X amount of hours of work, and you pay me $20 a month. And like, that lowers the barrier of entry so much for a small business. Like, if they're like, okay, cool, like, they could go and create their own website with something like Squarespace or something like that, which would also be a subscription. But again, that just takes time. There's one more thing that they need to do. There's one more thing that they need to understand. As web developers, we might look at that and be like, yeah, you just click a couple of things together and you've got a website.
Still takes time. And visual acumen.
Yeah, that is not the feeling to someone who is not very tech savvy and is already struggling just to, like, invoice properly or keep their like ordering system up to date or whatever. If you can give them something and say, here's the value already, like, the thing is already created, you can see it. You can even tell me if you want to make like small changes to colors or font or something like that, if you have any assets that you own as your business, and just pay me $20 a month. And in reality, those are basically static sites, so they cost you nothing to host. Like, there's no dynamic content that needs to be on there. It costs like, in terms of maintenance, there's like zero maintenance. Even if you said you'll keep it up to date on security vulnerabilities or whatever, that might just be merging the Dependabot automated PR that gets opened telling you which packages are out of date. Like, there's very minimal work that you will do, but just the peace of mind that you're offering that business, that there is someone there keeping an eye on this stuff that they don't understand anything about. Like, that in itself is value. And
Yeah.
so if you had like, you know, like let's say 100 businesses, they don't even need to be in your area. Like you could just blast this out to like if you, especially using tools like maybe V0 now to generate like the actual UI, if you had a way of mostly automating that process, you could go out to like 1,000 or 10,000 businesses, showing them this like this version of their website that already exists, and they can pay you $20 a month to keep it hosted and maintain it and keep the security vulnerabilities updated. And like if it's $20 a month, but then you have 1,000 people paying you $20 a month for something that takes very little actual ongoing maintenance, it just seems like a good idea. Now don't steal it. That one will not be in the show notes. Do not take my idea. But that's the thing, like you could take this idea and just apply it to anything. Like you could say, I'm gonna focus on like arborists up in the hills. We have lots of trees fall down. People
Niche down.
get paid to come and chop dangerous limbs off things and make big trees safe and things like that. There are a huge number of arborists in up in our area. If you just focused on just those and came up with a couple of like different templates that felt like trees and nature, and then you just blasted out to all of those people, again showing them the value of like this is what you could already have and this is how much it would cost, I think you would have a very lucrative business.
Yep, and I'm willing to even say it's easier to do this at the early stages of your career than when you end up a senior lead at a big demanding job and you're like, especially if you have families and kids, you're like, I know definitely have the skill set to build this really rapidly. I just don't have the time or the headspace to try to create that side hustle thing. Funny because the way my career is, I used to be a school teacher. We go listen to the episode of my origin story, but I transitioned into web dev. And initially I did exactly what you're describing. I was like looking at local businesses and like doing a little simple Drupal, WordPress, whatever website. And I was selling templates on ThemeForest. I was doing all these things that increased my skill set and the opportunity of luck finding you, increase the area of luck. And I remember getting my first corporate job at a fintech company in downtown Sydney called Society One. Ultimately, it led me to use tachyons, which led me to Tailwind, which kind of like I am where I am now because of that job too. But I remember a guy in finance in that team. Everyone was very banky and serious, and there was that guy who looked the most banky and the most serious, but he was unhinged and he was like speaking the truth. And he said, "Simon, you're a freaking idiot." I was like, "What?" It's like, why would you get a job in the rat race in the city? Now you're gonna be tethered to Sydney. You're gonna get used to a higher salary, which means your lifestyle, you're just gonna get bogged down and you're gonna depend on the job for the rest of the career. The reason we found you and brought you here is because you're freelancing superstar. You sell templates, you do design, you do videos, you seem to talk well to clients. Like you have all the things that makes a great freelancer: reliable, friendly, speak on camera, all that. And now you're going to shove it into a corporate job that's going to make you a cog in the wheel as a developer and stuff. And I remember, damn, this hurts. And I every now and then, so that this is like 2015, so about 10 years ago. And I was starting to make not a serious money on ThemeForest, but it was incrementing, and I was doing YouTube videos. And I can't help but think if I continue doing just that and manage my 3, 4, 5 clients, and every time you get a better client, you kind of phase out and hand off a client to someone who's earlier in their journey. I feel like if I did that, I would be in a much better place right now. And there's the other thing I want to say is everyone wants to feel like they're changing the world, like make an impact, So one way to do this is to work for a company that literally changes the world. Like you work for a company that tries to remove plastic from the ocean, or like you feel like you're contributing. But the majority of jobs, you end up like in the JavaScript ecosystem, the dev tools, you're like, I don't know if I'm really changing the world, in a way that if you do a website for the local bakery, and then you see the line on Sunday morning getting a bit bigger, and then they have a little stall outside at the music festival, and you're like, I really help this family business that I know the kids go to school with my kids. I had an impact in my local community, and I feel like it's much more rewarding to change the world within your small community than trying to change the world planet. And most people try to change the world planet, where when you do something for your local community, I get this with coaching basketball. I really see kids flourish and parents tell me you're the role model for them, and do that sort of stuff. I kind of wish I worked on smaller, little, like arborists or dentists or whatever community websites, rather than something that is like aiming to be a unicorn of like San San Francisco, Silicon Valley.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah, that's a really good way to look at it. Yeah. Affecting what you can actually affect, and affecting, like, yeah, more people in a smaller way.
yeah.
Yeah, that's
I look at, because I'm coaching basketball, I'm playing basketball, my kids play, and I look at there's a few websites for the clubs and they're all absolute garbage, and I'm like, I don't have the time, but I would love to say, hey, I don't want to say, hey, I can help you, and then I'm busy and they say, oh, can you? I get bogged down in some weird like Joomla CMS stuff where they want me to change the CSS on the page. I don't want to do this, but I would love to be able to say, hey, I've done a quick site. It's using Astro and Tailwind CSS. I think it should serve you well. It loads really fast. It's a bit easier. And then use Key Static or whatever if they need content editing. Like, do something modern and host it for free, instead of looking at whatever they use and it's full of bugs and stuff. And but it's really hard when you don't have time. And
Yeah.
sometimes I wake up and I'm like, in the simpler life, there's more time to do stuff that really impacts the community like this.
Yeah.
So
I think that's an important part of this idea of being able to just create a website and then say, do you like it? Is, yeah, you get to pick the tools. Like, that was a big thing when my wife did some contracting, and a lot of it was like WordPress sites that, like, that's fine in itself, but they were just like, had obviously been touched by too many contractors who didn't care about the longevity of it, and it was just kind of like sticky tape on top of sticky tape, and was just like a nightmare to work out where some weird bug was happening, because it was just this big, like, legacy mess, even though it was just like a fairly small community site or whatever. And so, yeah, being able to pick your own tools rather than work on some broken legacy thing, I think would be something that would be very important for me if I was doing this kind of thing. So, yeah, looking for those opportunities of people who have bad websites or no websites, and especially those people that are just using like an Instagram or Facebook account. If it's someone that's trying to reach more people, like if it's a cafe or something that's trying to scale up their business, not everyone has a Facebook account, not everyone has an Instagram, and so yeah, being able to solve that problem for them and explain why it's important, I think is a big opportunity. But speaking of WordPress, oh boy,
are we gonna go there?
things are happening in the WordPress world.
They sure are.
Yeah, I haven't gone too deeply into this. I just get my daily dose of something crazy happened. But I would say, for those who aren't following, basically, one of the creators of, is it the creator of WordPress?
It is the creator.
The creator of WordPress.
The
Had a bit of a personal battle
Meltdown.
with WP Engine, which I think is is it like a hosting service that hosts WordPress sites, but they're slightly modified?
Yes, but also they do it's like a big player in the ecosystem that like contributed a lot to WordPress, and then finding ways to fund this contribution, and they offer a lot of things. It's kind of like if you work with WordPress, it's not long until you end up in some of this ecosystem, which is what creates the massive problem now, because WP Engine got kind of like shorts cut off. You cannot access WordPress.com or whatever. And I myself started my career doing WordPress site, and I guarantee you that most of the sites I was using is using something from WP Engine. And so potentially most of these clients, they've moved, like it's 10 to 15 years ago, they've moved to something else, or they haven't updated the site. We haven't talked in a decade, but I wouldn't be surprised if someone tries to email me now, the site is down, what am I doing? And I know that people that have been maintaining client stuff with WordPress, especially big ambitious projects, it's serious pain and struggle, and like everything's broken, and some of these WordPress sites are gigantic enterprise stuff, and there's a lot of people having really bad weekends and evenings and nights. It's pretty sad. Like the meltdown itself, sometimes you can laugh a bit about the situation, but a lot of people are pretty hard done by.
It's true. Yeah. In fact, exactly what I was just pitching as being like a business idea. If something like this did happen, like say you chose Next.js for all of the projects that you were promising to maintain and keep security vulnerabilities and things up to date. If something like this did happen in the Next.js or React or Node ecosystem, then you would be on the hook for making sure that you update every single one of those websites. So you might actually have some work to do. But
just one more thing on even at when there's no drama and no WP engine phasing out, I did exactly what you said. Like, as part of my freelancing journey, I was doing client work and templates, and my wife she's got a business degree. She was like, "You need to have like some retainers, like do some maintenance plans, and they pay you 20 or 40 bucks. So you can have multiple tiers, and then most people won't use it, but at least it's like an extra bit of like." The client stays with you, and they're more likely to come back for custom work if they're already subscribed to your stuff. So I had this maintenance plan for WordPress and Drupal, and it was about 20 bucks a month. And most of them would never ask something, but every now and then someone would be like, my site has been hacked. There's like spam porn stuff everywhere. Please help me immediately. And I was like, oh God, actually this plan is not great because I'm not an expert in like security in WordPress, and like you work your way around and you know the steps to kind of clear the database and stuff. Anyway, I very quickly resorted to the next stage of running your own business, which is outsourcing stuff. Turns out, and with Australia time zone, it works really well. In the Philippines, there's a lot of people that specialize in WordPress security because WordPress powering 50-60% of the internet, it's a giant target for like vulnerabilities and hacks and DDoS.
Especially since it always has a database like bundled in, and it has, like default credentials that are usually encouraged to change, but that takes more work from the developer. Like, yeah, it's a very big target.
So it's a very big target, and the problem is as soon as there's an exploit, WordPress is fundamentally secure because they always release like a fix and you update quickly and then you protect it from this. The problem is no matter how good a CMS you set up for a client and it said, this is how you create a page, you need to go there and click updates versions regularly. Not a single, maybe I had a couple of clients that I educated right, but all of my clients, they wanted the CMS so they can change content and stuff. And once you provide the really adequate tool, they never once log in or touch anything. And the next time you log in, it's like the version from you installed like 2 years ago, and everything is screaming in red, vulnerability attack from 6 months ago, please update ASAP. So the problem is people don't upgrade. So I moved to my maintenance plan was literally manually upgrade the versions every month because they would not do it. But doing that sounds like a good deal, but the when stuff hits the fan, it's actually really bad. So if you can set it up and then find trustable contacts that are really, really good and can jump on it, then it's probably a good idea. But I don't envy these people doing maintenance and migrations for WordPress right now, because a lot of people are moving, I guess, to Craft CMS, to Sanity, to Keystatic. I'm hoping to help a few of these, to Statamic from the Laravel ecosystem, which is a great CMS as well. It opens up opportunities, but it creates so much stress and tension. And WordPress is not just a blog. People use it for e-commerce, for literally there's plugins to build anything with WordPress, which is why I was using it, because I didn't know how to build the custom functionality. I just grab plugins for everything I need.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not a fun, if you're a WordPress specialist right now, it's not great.
No, no, not a good time. And yes, I think it's interesting that like something else I wanted to chat about on a previous episode was DHH and how he's gone on another uh, like tour of all of the of all of the podcasts and all of the things. But the stuff that he's saying sounds a lot more reasonable and a lot more well thought out and a lot less like personal attacks and more like, well, no, okay, there's still personal attacks. I don't know. It's weird. Like I never thought so like the start of when I started teaching, I was teaching at a boot camp and
Yeah.
we were teaching Rails and like DHH was this like amazing icon person that you would point
Oh
to and
yeah.
be like, everyone should follow this guy. Everyone should like, check out these amazing conference talks and stuff. Like he was such an important integral part in moving the web forward to where we are now
For
and the way
sure.
we
Yeah.
build modern apps. But then, spicy take after spicy take, that the amount that I wanted to recommend DHH as a good source of information slowly deteriorated, especially around like work culture stuff. Like I think he has a very different attitude about work culture to me, and a very like a bit more of a grindy do what it takes kind of attitude, rather than my attitude, which is a bit more make it sustainable and make it enjoyable. But his recent stuff. So he went on like a big like there was a lot of controversy around the Hey email app, and he kind of like targeted Apple and was like, "I'm gonna burn this company to the
Yeah.
ground."
I remember that one.
And
Yeah.
at the same time, I think there was a lot of other like 37 Signals stuff that was going on. And yeah, I think he kind of like burnt very brightly and then disappeared for a while. And it was like, oh, cool, DHH is taking some time. That's nice. And now he seems to have come back and he's pushing certain things. He seems pretty anti-cloud and anti some stuff. But the things that he is saying sound more reasonable and justified. And he's sprinkling in some more some takes that I actually agree with for once. Like I feel like it's been a while since I've agreed with a DHH take, but like, he's got some really good healthy attitudes about like parenting and stuff, which I would not have guessed from his other spicy takes. And so yeah, all of this to say that basically the like Matt from WordPress's
Yep.
takes at the moment seem like the most like 1 to 5 year ago DHH takes. These like spicy takes, just gonna keep digging deeper, and I'm just gonna keep going and going and going. I'm not gonna apologize. I'm not gonna take any responsibility. I'm just gonna keep digging a hole as deep as it can go. I am sticking with my opinion as if it
Yep.
is fact, which is like the most what DHH was like a little while ago. And it's funny that now DHH is attacking. They're attacking each other, but it's funny that like DHH seems like the more reasonable one and
Yeah.
the more like thinking through this. Yeah. Anyway,
He's gone through the villain arc and coming back down.
yeah,
Probably done a bit of PR training with some like
yeah.
public relation coach. Like, hey, maybe chill.
Yeah. Like I feel like his so an example of this is like TypeScript, like that was another kind of
Yeah, they
spicy.
ripped it off not the Rails, but what, the Basecamp code? No, something that a lot of people use. They were like, there's a PR that removes TypeScript, and people were like, oh, we rely on this professionally, like this. I know it's open source and you get to kind of choose where things goes, but like this is widely used project and a lot of people relied on types that you don't like, but we do. I forgot what it was.
Yeah. But yeah, like that I think is he's done a lot of things where he's just like, I don't care. I'm doing this. This is like I'm right. I
built this and this is my you decided to use my thing that I built for my
yeah. Whereas at the moment I feel like his current tour around all the different live streams and interviewing with different people there are some quite reasonable, well thought out
Wow.
takes sprinkled
Well,
in with the
I
others.
haven't followed at all, but I have this pulse that a lot of people, I've seen a lot of people say exactly what you said. Oh, I didn't think I would agree with DHH, but here we go. And literally in our Slack at ThinkMill yesterday, someone posted that. So you know things are changing or things are weird when you actually find yourself agreeing with DHH.
Yeah,
Typically, that whenever that name would come up, that would be like, oh, what has he done this time?
totally.
Uh, Before that, there was like everyone worshipped like the whole remote work book and the the cycle work methodology that Basecamp uses.
Yeah. Upwork? Oh no,
Yes, that thing. You get
something.
a 6 week cycle. I
Yeah.
know personally when I worked at Tailwind Labs, like Adam is very uh, he looks up to DHH, and we applied all the principles of work that this book I don't know how it's called. Anyway, you know the book I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Shaping
Shape
up.
Up. That's the one. Yeah, I
Yeah.
also worked for a company around the
And it
same
actually
time
works
that,
pretty well.
yeah, very
But yeah,
strictly followed it. And yeah, yeah, there are elements of it that work very, very well.
yeah.
But
Uh,
yeah, like it requires a whole company. Like I think it works at a small company, which is why Tailwind it probably
yeah,
worked.
yeah,
The company I was working for was a
yeah,
smaller startup. It worked. But yeah, it wouldn't
yeah.
work at a larger company without someone as strongly opinioned as DHH.
Yeah. But you could feel like this arc, like the bell curve, like starts inspiring and amazing, and then like, oh my god, what is he doing? This is
Yeah.
the villain arc, and then come back down, and like you said, Matt. Like I've seen few people say that, and I do believe it's probably true. Like some sort of like personal crisis, meltdown,
Maybe. Which
like
would be a sadder.
because it started, maybe there was some business decision or financial, I don't know, at the start, but the last few weeks it really feels like it's turned into like a full sabotage, like because he's getting Rossi blocking everyone. The WordPress.org account, official Twitter account, is blocking people that are running the meetups and are like they're part of the core contributors to WordPress ecosystem and community and friendliness for like decades, and they just go on Twitter like, what? And they're blocked, and they're like, but I helped, we built this thing together, and I did all this, and I'm running the like WordPress conference Europe and all the meetups and the stuff. It's crazy. And that's it's past the point where like now this is like either like someone is holding at gunpoint and say, just do that, do this, do it again, just sabotage everything, or he's lost it. And yeah, like someone
Yeah.
said, someone needs to take him away from the keyboard, send him on holiday, and then have a stern chat and say, dude, I understand the start, but now it's time to pull back, man.
I can hear the cicadas in your microphone.
Yeah,
It's insane.
this is the first week or two. On the next 5 months, I'm gonna be like constantly. So cicadas have like a phase where for 30 seconds they go really loud and then they shut up. And so when I do recording takes, I'm like, all right, let's wait till the next cycle, the cool down cycle, and then I get my recording in, because it's one of these like high ear piercing sound you can't really remove from the recordings.
Yeah.
Anyway, the joys of Australian summer.
But back on the taking a holiday, like I feel like that's like another parallel that I'm drawing to DHH is like it seems like he did like he went through this curve. He was at right at the peak of the villain curve and like was annoying a lot of people, upsetting a lot of people. And then he seemed to just disappear and took a break, and now he seems to have come back with some like more calculated, more thought
Level
out.
balanced.
Yeah.
Yep.
And yeah, a much less aggressive take. Like it seems to be a calmer, like this, like just arguing a point, like debating something rather than like personally being upset and aggressive about it. And so yes, I feel like if Matt is going to take such inspiration from DHH in the way up the villain curve and trying to like not apologize, not take responsibility, not like just keep pushing and seeing every day like how much more can I set this on fire. He should also take inspiration from DHH on just taking a bit of a cool down and a break and
It'll
coming back
probably
with
happen. Yeah.
yeah, a fresh
Stay
mind, fresh
tuned.
attitude.
See what happens after Christmas.
Yeah.
after a
Yeah.
good break.
Speaking of breaks, we need to take a break from doing this episode anymore because it's become another long one because it's just so much fun to talk to you. So Simon, do you
Yeah.
have a sick pick for me this week?
I have 2 sick pick, man.
Ooh,
I have a physical object and a person.
excellent.
Physical object, I
A
haven't used
person
it.
is a physical object.
Okay, a
Two
breathing,
physical objects.
a non a non-cognizant with no capacity to whatever, and
All right, I'll
something
accept
that
that
doesn't live
distinction.
and breathe. So it's a thing that I haven't used in 2 years, but I used to use every day. And now that I have this first world problem of having 2 computers, I've pulled it out of a box. It is a little foldable stand. I'm showing it on screen. It's like a little stick that would fit in any backpack, and then you go, whoop,
Whoa!
it opens up, and you kind of sit the laptop, and it's kind of like a stand that puts the laptop in an ergonomic position at eye level, and then it folds into tiny. So the original one that people share a lot on Twitter is called a Roost stand, but this one, because I'm cheap, is a knockoff version. It's not as good quality. It doesn't have the little rubbery stuff, so if you slide it on your desk, it'll scratch a bit. But it's called Next Stand. It's the Next.js version of. No,
That's why it's all black. It's dark mode.
yeah, it's the versatile version. Next Stand. This thing is like 20 or 30 bucks on Amazon, and you just open it, put it down, you slide your laptop, and it's rock solid. I've never once thought, oh, is it wobbly? Is it gonna fall? You do
Actually, when
need,
it's opened out, it looks a little bit like the Next.js X.
yeah, the triangle. Or the,
Oh yeah,
or
there's
the,
a triangle and there's the X. It's
it's like the
Next.js and
Twitter,
Vercel.
Twitter X or whatever. But yeah, you do need a mouse and keyboard if you do this, unless you want to type up. But it turns you from the shrimp prone pose to a nice eye level stand. And so I was like, because I have 2 laptops, one for me and one for work, and now one is like on the desk flat, and I go in the shrimp pose, and I was like, oh, maybe I should get one of these clamp. And then I remember I had this, and I took it out, and I was like, problem solved. This is awesome.
That's awesome.
That's my physical non-human being pick.
Yeah, perfect for co-working spaces. Anytime you're traveling around to different hot desks.
Yeah. So now my other pick, it's a shout out to a basket. Can I?
No, I was saying if it's a person, is it going to be me?
No, almost close. No, it's not. Shout out to a basketball player, which happens to be my favorite player. He's called Lonzo Ball. 2.5 years ago, he held his knee after playing. It was like, oh, it hurts a bit. And he stopped playing, and the medical staff said, oh, discomfort in the knee is going to take 4 to 6 weeks off. And at the end of the 6-week period, they're like, he's got a meniscus tear. We're going to have surgery, and he's out for the whole season. And then during the off season, he trained up, ramped up, started running a little bit. And then the news came, he's plateaued in the rehab, can't get down the stairs, can't run fast, it hurts, gonna have another surgery. Missing the whole entire next season. And through this whole entire next season, within 3 or 4 months, the new season had started. He was off for the whole season. The news come, Lonzo is going to have another surgery because he's not recovering. We're going to try one last thing that no one has ever recovered from in professional sports. It's a cartilage transplant. So he's got someone else's cartilage in his knee.
Did he take it from one of the other like good players?
Yeah, he stole it from a superstar in the. I don't know where it came from, but
Jordan's cartilage.
at this point, the thing was like, dude, you're going to be able to walk and function in a normal life. It's gonna relieve you from the pain. You can walk downstairs and stuff, but I wouldn't hold thoughts of playing basketball again. And this operation has been successful on athletes before, but they stopped their career. They just had a knee that's functional for everyday life. Anyway, Lonzo today, in about 1 hour, is going to step on the court again for his first game in 3 years. It was a write-off. He's never gonna play again. And then he said, "Oh, I'm gonna try rehab one more time." And this time he reached the plateau where usually things stop and it hurts again. And he kept pushing. And even now, so he used to be a superstar, like almost the best future player in the Chicago Bulls. And even now, he's gonna start playing today. Everyone talks about the team and the roster like he doesn't exist because they're like, we cannot assume that he's gonna play basketball again. But it went to a point where he's ready and he's gonna try. He's probably gonna play 5 to 10 minutes max, and it's a preseason game. But yeah, I just wanted to, in terms of perseverance, he was my favorite player because he gets everyone involved and moves the ball really quickly. And going through 3 surgeries and fighting back and training and ramping up to the point you can play again, it's pretty cool.
That's awesome.
So I'm excited to watch the recap when it comes out.
I'll be holding my breath through that whole game, hoping he doesn't come down in a bad way.
Yeah. So what's gonna happen is he's gonna not start the game, and he's probably gonna sub in at mid first quarter, and it's in Chicago in the United Center, so the crowd is going to go absolutely crazy, and he's gonna have his moment. Like he probably get really emotional and probably hopefully play 4 or 5 minutes and then back out. Yeah. Fun fact: the play he got injured 3 years ago was against a really strong player called Julius Randle. Chicago plays against Minnesota, where Julius Randle now plays. So there's that added like, oh my God, I might have to guard the person that there wasn't in. It was like a knee-to-knee knock, some sort of like contact, but
right,
that's fun. But yeah, I'm excited, and I've been rooting for him. And you know how social media can be terrible, and they're just like, people are, because he signed a really juicy contract with the Bulls and played 3 months and then got injured for the whole longevity of the contract, and he's raking like $20 million every year, and people are just saying bad things where he's really trying to rehab and he wants to play, and seeing him come back to this point where he can play is super exciting and cool. It's a nice feel-good story for literally entire league.
Yeah, that is fantastic. Well, yeah, looking forward to that game. That'll be great. All right,
now you got no more time for your sick picks.
I'm going to give you 2 sick picks. I'm going to give you 1 physical object and 1 physical object with a personality. All right, first one. Shelving. Shelving is incredible. Get some shelving in your life. We had some shelving built for us, which was also incredible. Get things built for you. Don't build them yourself. It's so much faster. It's just fantastic.
The finish is better.
Yeah, it's actually built well. It actually like doesn't fall apart, doesn't creak, doesn't do anything. It's great. We had some shelving built under the house. So we have this like we live on a hill. We live on like our block is quite steep, and so we have these like kind of like flattened areas on our block. But the house itself is on stumps, and like the front part of the house is like 2.5, 3 meters in the air, and so we have this like quite large cavity under the house. But it's very dusty under there, and the air is very wet where we live.
Yep.
And so things tend to get pretty deteriorated if we put them under the house. And so we had built just like shelving out of milk crates and things, or just like old chests of drawers and things. We'll like put it so it's stable enough, and then it'll just get like piled with stuff.
Ground. Yeah.
And everything ends up getting thrown out eventually because it's too deteriorated and in bad shape. So we got some shelving built, and then we have got a bunch of tarps to put over the front and like surround the shelving. And it's just so nice having things that are like purpose built for storing this stuff. We've got all our like camping gear and everything under there, and it's all like nicely covered, and so it's protected from the dust because it's up off the ground, and any water that might go under the house if we have a drainage problem, and it's also like protected from the moisture in the air and things settling on it. It's just it's so nice. It's cleaned it up.
Is
so
it
nice.
Clothing? Do you have like a doors that actually shut down, or it's just shelves with open?
I think that'll be the next upgrade to it. At the moment, it's just the shelving, and then we can hang some tarps around the sides to kind of create a wall around it. But yeah, it would be nice to like we could essentially just like wrap it in that waterproof stuff and make like a whole enclosed box.
Because I'm asking because I'm on the same arc as you, but earlier you're at the villain arc, and I'm like still at the beginning where I have camping gear under the house. Same deal, that you enter at floor level and then the floor goes down, so the house has space under. It's all dust and humid. So we have surfboards and bikes and stuff, which kind of works. But then we also have the camping equipment, and every time we go camping, we remove the dust. There's always huntsman spiders, and like you can see the deterioration happening.
Yeah.
And we haven't done it, but we're thinking of like some nice shelf with like weatherproof setup would be great.
Yeah. I didn't think it would make as big a difference as it has made. It's been like, yeah, it's a joy. I feel like I want to hang out under the house and just like look at it. It looks like art. It's fantastic.
Yeah, it went from like this dust pile of like council cleanup looking stuff to
Yeah. Yeah. It's awesome. So first pick, shelving. Get some shelving. Just like
do
build
it.
the stuff you need. I also at the same time got the same person to put up a shelf in my office, which is off camera. It's up there. But it's like a really high shelf, and then he's hung
I can
my
see you
speakers
looking way up.
way up there, way up in that huge cathedral roof. It's like a high shelf, so I can put just like extra, like my camera when I'm not using it, and lights and things, like all the stuff that I still use day to day. I can get up off the ground because previously they've just been in like boxes, like under desks, and it's just like in the way, and everything feels cluttered. And
Yep.
so now it's like the things that I actually use are up on that shelf. The things that I use very infrequently are now under the house on the other shelving, also still safe and not getting destroyed. And it's just so nice getting things
Life quality.
organized and out of the way, which has been a little bit of a theme of this new redesign of my office that was getting very cluttered and feeling very
Decluttering phase, yeah.
stressful. And so yeah, the shelf also, like, it was too high to have speakers on top, and so I was thinking of like, building stands that like pivot so that the speaker can point down, so I can actually, like, it's actually projecting
Pointing
towards
at
my
you,
ears, which isn't so much of a problem when I'm just listening to music, but if I'm like writing, I might be in the process of writing a secret follow-up album, Super Bass #2, and so I need to be able to like hear the frequencies really clearly so that I can like mix levels and things.
Monitoring, yeah.
And so I kind of need them to be on a good, like, be projecting towards my ears. And so I explained all of this to the builder who has actual skills and can actually build things with their hands and knows how to, like, solve problems. And they just completely solved it. So now I've got the high shelf, and then rather than putting the speakers on top, he's like built a little box that hangs off the bottom of the shelf.
Slide
My
it in.
speaker sits in that, and it can pivot side to
Oh.
side. And so it's just so nice.
So it's a hanging little thing with the little.
Yeah. And
pivot
so I can
point.
just rotate it around, and it's just so solid. It's holding like a massive speaker, but it's just so solid. People can do stuff. It's amazing. People,
I know, when they're specialized and skilled.
it's fantastic. Yeah.
And
Like, I'm
us,
sure he wouldn't be great at building a website. I can do that bit, but he's incredible at building physical things with wood. It's awesome.
us toxic devs think, oh, I can just go on YouTube and watch one tutorial, and I can do the whole reno, and
Yeah, and that's why everything's kind of like hanging not quite right everywhere else. But he has built some incredible shelving. So that's my pick of shelving. I guess that is also a pick of a physical object with a personality, because that guy killed it at building this stuff.
Yeah.
My other pick of a physical object with a personality is Aaron Francis and Steve have just released a new course, Mastering Postgres. So you should head over to masteringpostgres.com and grab it while it's still on sale. And there might also, I don't know if I meant to mention this, but I'm just going to mention it anyway. There might be a launch day coupon that you could use to get even more off. And so you should go and get it and learn heaps about Postgres, because it is. I bought it yesterday and looked through the chapters, and I was like, oh, this isn't just like I'll watch this in a couple of afternoons. This is serious business. This is like a Christmas holiday kind of course where I really need to like spend some time digging into it, because it is comprehensive.
Did not buy it yet. I really want to, and I've watched the first video where Aaron explains the thing, and he said one thing. He said, at the end of this course, I fully expect you to become like the very best specialized database person in your team, which is pretty good for your career. And I was like, that sounds pretty good. That database is probably my weakest point. I'm like design front of the front end, and then connecting with the database to get stuff. But I never really interface with like indexing and creating the tables and the schema design in a way that's like performant and all that stuff. So I was like, that would be a nice funneling further down the stack for me to.
Yeah. And it's all the stuff that I should know that people assume that
Yeah,
I
well,
know.
you on the other hand are teaching Postgres stuff through Supabase, which yeah. So Tailwind CSS doesn't really deal with Postgres that much. I mean,
Mm.
you might have some data that comes back from database with Tailwind classes in it, which I don't recommend, but it might happen.
But yeah, you're right. It's like the stuff that I assume a lot of the course is diving into is like, efficiency of querying data and like efficiency of storing stuff and creating indexes and table partitions and all of these things that are like, yeah, pretty far separated from the presentational layer. Like you need to get it in there to show the presentation, but like it's it's just a very different concern.
Yeah. And the other thing that hit me that Aaron says is we obsess about like performance and what framework to use and what language. Oh, PHP is slow and JavaScript, blah blah blah. But then very often the bottleneck is how quick does your query to the database comes back with data. And cool, using Astro and is the fastest render possible. But if you happen to be pinging a database that does like n plus 2000 queries in a really slow setup at the other end of the world, and you're like, now my front end is really cool, but loading spinner is waiting because I need to do some async fetching, and the database becomes the bottleneck.
Yeah.
So it's very interesting to see it looks like it's very performance oriented course, not just learn Postgres, but learn like high performance. They did SQL, SQLite, and now Postgres. So.
Yeah. Yeah. It's like the exact bit that I feel like is missing from my experience. Like I also came more from the front end. Like I kind of like specialized as a UI developer initially, and then kind of like moved across to more of like a full stack role. But my interest was always more on the front end of things, and definitely like most experience was with React and building the front end of web apps.
Yeah.
And then working at Supabase, like I've learned so much about databases, but the bit that I haven't got experience in is like actually working as like a DBA in a company, like responsible for the performance of the database. Like I know a lot about structuring queries and like how, the common things that you want to do to improve performance. But yeah, I feel like this course is probably the missing part of the bit that I definitely should know more about. And so I'm excited to.
I feel like a lot of companies should get their whole dev team on that course. Like it's one of these ROI for any business, like people solid skills in database. Like any business that uses Postgres, it should be a no-brainer to like, hell yeah, let's just make sure everyone's like top level skills in the thing we use.
Absolutely. And if anyone's going to teach it, Aaron is the
Aaron
person for me. Yeah. Okay. All right. Wait. Hang on. No. If someone is going to teach this level of Postgres and truly mastering Postgres, I don't think there's anyone better in the world to teach it other than Aaron. And there isn't anyone better to edit it and create all of the animated
I think that's the thing. That the thing is the synergy of superpowers where Aaron is like, I don't have to compromise on my teaching on camera because I need to quickly edit as well within the time frame. And Steve is like, I don't need to worry about any light or whatever on my face. I can set them up on Aaron's face, and I'm like behind the scenes. And together, that unleashes this crazy power. Because I feel, and I think you're the same. Like I feel like I can do both to a fairly high standard, but there's always one that gets compromised. If I don't have much time, I'm like stuff the whatever that lighting will do because I have to edit all the stuff.
Yeah.
Or if I spend too much time recording really nice, I'm like, I'm gonna garbage edit. So that's like taking two of the world's best and making them work together. It's just like, nailed it.
Totally.
Nailed it.
Yeah, they are a super team, both at the absolute top of their game in those two different areas, and complement each other perfectly.
I do wonder. I think the answer is yes, and also I think they don't care, but I feel like there's might be some people at Planet Scale punching the air like, we had these two guys and we fired them or we just laid them off, and now they've like, imagine having these two guys for you. But also I think Planet Scale made a choice, and they're probably whatever business stuff. And also Steve and Aaron are probably very happy where they are right now. So
I think it's probably the best thing for all involved. Like
for everyone.
Yet we haven't seen any like oh, that was a mistake.
Yeah.
Like they seem to have made the right call for their
They
business.
gave Aaron and Steve that platform that kind of helped them use the momentum and say, hey, let's keep riding that wave and do the thing.
Totally. Yeah, like Aaron wouldn't like he already had an audience around Laravel, but I don't think he would have built his reputation as much as a database educator without that stint that he did.
And the video skills. Well,
Yeah,
I've
totally.
met Aaron when he joined Tuple, which was before that, and he was clearly not at the same Aaron Francis, like mind-blowing on camera teaching. Maybe he was, but I hadn't seen it.
Yeah.
And then it's the database stuff that everyone started like tripping out. Like I don't use Planet Scale, but these resources are amazing. And then they were like, hey, everywhere they went after this was like someone would speak to Aaron. The company was like, can we get you and Steve do something because you were really good together. So they're like, oh, okay, maybe we can do it.
Yeah. So
You and I are gonna do the same, my friend.
one day,
One day.
one day. Absolutely.
We specialize in arborists in the Melbourne countryside forest.
Yeah, like I think this podcast is another like excellent example of just like we both have such complementary skills. Like database side, front end side, and I think we both have such an awesome overlap in the middle and such a like shared interest of like Astro, Next.js, like all those things that glue everything together nicely in the middle.
Yeah, we had this idea that we would build the Navbar website and you would do the database stuff and I would do the tailwind, and we kind of did a side, but we should do some live stream and like teaching stuff together.
We should.
Yeah.
That would be awesome.
Let us know in the comments if you want us to do it.
But yes, head on over to Mastering Postgres. Go and check out that course. It is awesome. I haven't watched all of it yet, but I'm sure is going to be awesome.
Is it dark mode friendly?
I think so. I think they
have to now.
That same ridiculous thing.
And they've probably added one layer, probably changed t-shirt and record everything with the black shirt and the white shirt and different glass frames.
It'd be so good. But yes, Aaron has been a huge inspiration for like how to structure my content and how to actually deliver like highly technical stuff in an engaging, fun, interesting way. And so would highly recommend go and check out Mastering Postgres. And we will see you next week.
Yep. See you next week. Have a good one. Be safe. Bye.
And we are probably no longer live.